Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous. I hate to tell you this, but COVID is back. In most of the United States, hospitalizations and deaths from COVID seem to be way down. COVID deaths nationwide are 522 a day, a tiny fraction of the nearly 3,900 a day in February. But things are not as rosy as they look. In Los Angeles County, COVID is ripping the place up. The LA Times reports that weekly COVID deaths have doubled in the last month. So have COVID hospitalizations nationwide. LA County Public Health Director Barbara Ferrer warns that there is a lot of misinformation circulating about COVID right now, including that at this point it only causes mild illness. Unfortunately, says Ferrer, this isn't true. The LA Times backs that up by saying, so far in 2022, the deaths of LA County residents from COVID-19 have been equal to the typical combined toll of the flu, drug overdoses, and motor vehicle accidents over an entire calendar year, meaning that in half a year, we've had more deaths from COVID than deaths from the flu, drug overdoses, and motorcycle accidents. Twice as many. What's more, many of those dying are young. On Tuesday, July 12th, one of the LA County residents killed by the new COVID variant was in her 30s or 40s, and 4 were between 50 and 64. Why is LA County being hit so hard? Says the LA Times, partly because of the plight of the working poor. The low-wage workers who are vital to LA's economic engine, and probably the engine of your city and mine, preparing food, delivering it, and working in hospitality and tourism. LA has vast numbers of these workers living in overcrowded housing. And overcrowded housing is a paradise for an infectious virus. The virus can jump easily from one person to another and eat all at once. So even when the poor are fully vaccinated, they are 10 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID than the wealthy. But there's more than poverty at work here. The world is under assault from a new mutation of the COVID virus called BA.5. BA.5 has rocketed from a mere 17% of cases in the country a month ago to 65% last week. Says Dr. Eric Topol of Scripps Research, BA.5 is the worst version of the virus that we've seen, and it's the most viciously infectious. If you'd caught the first version of COVID back in 2020, you'd have infected 2 to 3 other people. But if you catch the new BE5 variant, you are likely to infect almost 8. Why is BA5 so good at spreading? BA5 has 2 clever mutations in its spike protein. The spike is the can opener that allows the virus to grab, penetrate, and infect one of your cells, then to use your cell to manically mass produce copies of itself, to explode your infected cell like an overfilled balloon, and to spray new copies of itself, new copies of the BA5 virus into your bloodstream. The new spike protein innovations are called L452R and F486V, and with them, BA5 is 4 times more capable of what Nature magazine calls immune escape than earlier COVID viruses, which means BA5 can evade the immunity created by vaccines or by an earlier COVID infection. In fact, BA5 can make you sick, wait until you're healthy, then make you sick all over again 3 weeks later. The symptoms of BA5 appear to be the symptoms of a cold, with one new twist, back pain. But don't let the mildness of these symptoms fool you. BA5 can give you long COVID, a condition that can exhaust you and give you brain fog for the rest of your life. What can we expect from COVID in the future? Says the queen of the science journals, Nature magazine. Like a Hollywood franchise that churns out sequel after mind-numbing sequel, COVID will be back. Other spike protein mutations are already waiting in the wings. David Montefiore, a virologist at Duke University, believes that COVID will be something we live with for a very long time. Maybe forever, adds Montefiore. We're periodically going to see it evolve, he says. And we're periodically going to see it burst forth again. Adds Christian Althaus, a computational epidemiologist at the University of Bern in Switzerland. One possible future for SARS-CoV-2 is that it will become like the other 4 seasonal coronaviruses, the levels of which ebb and flow with the seasons, usually peaking in winter and typically reinfecting people every 3 years or so. Althaus says the big question is whether symptoms will become milder and milder and whether issues with long COVID will slowly disappear. Your best defense against BE5 remains the vaccine. Vaccines don't keep you from being infected, but they do protect you from hospitalization and death. Why? Says Dr. Montefiore of Duke University. Thanks to the vaccine, your killer cells work together with your antibodies, and combined, they're able to control the virus and eliminate it from your body before you get seriously ill. The White House Coronavirus Response Team Coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha, explains that there will be a new vaccine in the fall designed specifically to keep BA5 and new variants yet to come at bay. But until then, Dr. Jha recommends getting boosted now, then getting the new vaccine when it arrives in a few months. And experts like LA County Public Health Director Barbara Ferrer and Dr. David Wall, a professor of medicine and infectious disease at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, strongly recommend that in indoor public places you wear your mask. A mask provides you with a defensive wall, with a fortress against the virus, and it protects those around you from any virus you may be carrying. This is Howard Bloom speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make. Or, want to know why? Ask how.